Welcome into the Dad Verb Podcast. Topics around parenting from the lens of a dad.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Dad Verb Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. I'm joined by Muamer and Andrew Saunders. I feel like I say this all the time, but it's been a couple weeks since we've done a podcast because, as we always say, we're dads. Life gets in the way. We run businesses and work, so we've got a lot going on. And one of our members in particular has the most going on. Saunders, you welcomed a new baby into the world, right?
We did. I was
Congratulations, golf clap so we don't blow the speakers out.
We were supposed to record and I was like really going for like, we need to get this kid out. I want 30 minutes before I got to record. And then I'm going to show up on the podcast recording and be like, look, he's fresh.
He's still
Listen, it got to the point where we were telling Saunders to just stop and we will film next week.
We're like, hey man, you're like in the hospital. You got a lot going on right now.
Well, so I asked permission from my wife. She was like, go ahead. And had I known what I know now, I totally would have done it. Because
my wife was there when you called me, Saunders, and like with the whole situation. And I told, so for everyone listening, Saunders called and like we were talking through it and game planning. I'm like, dude, like just focus. If it was me, my wife would kill me. So just like focus on what you're doing. And after I hung up, she was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like if you would have even just like said the word podcast, it would have been over.
What about if
I was watching The Office when everybody walked in and I got some looks.
That's funny. So we'll tell the whole story. We obviously got to do sick check and like start the episode properly. But what do you call it? At like 4 a.m, we were just having like this nonchalant chat with the OB, or who's like our family doctor. Like he was awake, we were awake. Nobody could go home. Nobody could leave. We were just talking about like he had gotten a divorce and like just BSing with this doctor who was like, I got nothing better to do. Like, why not hang in? Anyway, so yeah, we'll get into it, I'm sure. Ben, did you mute yourself?
All right, yeah, I muted myself. I hit the space bar, which goes to like you have to hold the space bar to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to hold this while we do our sick check. But as with every episode, we are gonna go through and do our sick check. I'll kick us off. We're sick. So my son's had a cough for a while. My daughter's been fine. She's been a trooper. And then she just developed like this cold kind of out of nowhere. And that has developed into slight pneumonia. So we are fully in the world of, we're fully in the world. She's doing okay. She's got her steroids and antibiotics and all that. But we are fully back in the world of using the nebulizer and, doing antibiotics twice a day. And it's bringing back a lot of not fun memories of all the times my son had RSV. Even to the point where like, they get that really pitiful, like kind of wheezy, croupy cough in the middle of the night. And so I did the old, I took her in the shower. So we have this like big, they call it the car wash. We have like this big shower in our house. And so there's a bench across the back of it. So with both of the kids, whenever they're sick, it's like we run humidifiers all the time. But it makes it much easier when I can just, it's 2:00 a.m. She can't sleep and she's coughing and going crazy and kicking around and stuff. I'll just take her in there and just sit and just let the steam roll over. And it, as terrible as you feel for them, it is kind of sweet because you're just sitting in there with like your 2-year-old asleep on your chest as the, shower runs and they get all the steam and they can actually like breathe and they're not coughing and wheezing and all that. So she's cuddly when she's sick. So it's not great to have them home because we also live in South Carolina where we've had an ice storm 1 week and then a massive snowstorm the second week. So our kids have been out of school like 8 or 9 of the last 14 days, something like that. Like schools have been closed. We can't go anywhere. But she's been cuddly and sweet, but I think she's getting to the point where she's bored of being home.
Yeah.
She's starting to get kind of mean about stuff. Like she just likes to yell about things. Yeah, she's getting kind of mean about things. So she's ready to go back to school.
I love how Ben's just sitting. Like, if you watch the video, he's like, man, it's so sad. She's cuddly and she's sick. And like the smile's just slowly creeping up on the corner of his mouth because he's like, she's cuddly and I love it, but she's sick and I can't be happy about it.
Yeah, I'm not happy that she's sick. I am happy that she literally just walks up to me. I was in my office doing work earlier and she walked up to me and just goes, Daddy, will you come sit with me and watch a movie?
Oh,
100%. I will come sit with you and watch a movie. And she just cuddles in and watches Princess and the Frog and Aladdin and all that stuff. So we've been watching a lot of Disney, but I think I'm not getting a lot of sleep, so I can feel it. It's coming for me. I've had a 2-year-old coughing directly into my mouth and eyes for the last 5 days. So it's coming. It's coming.
yeah.
What about the rest of you guys? Everybody
So
healthy?
Ben's not going to
Muamer,
be
how
here
about you?
next week. He's going to be
Yeah,
down for the count.
we'll see. We'll see.
Listen, I'll just say we're sick too. Both boys just run the gamut. There's, they're just probably got some kind of cold right now. Snotty, achy, just uncomfortable. And they taking this full advantage of it. My 3-year-old, who's turning 4 this weekend, actually, he is like just running down with the snots and everything, and he'll like wake up in the morning and say, Mommy, Daddy, I don't feel good, I just want to watch TV. I'm like, I mean, that's
what are you
fine,
going to do? Say no?
Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's
He's
fine.
like-
Everything's
he's like,
fine.
Figured
I'm
out
sick.
the words.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
but you, Saunders.
I mean, in the last 2 weeks, I've spent more time in the hospital than anybody else, but we are
Yep.
not sick. So last week we were at the hospital every day in one way,
Jeez.
shape, or form.
Ooh.
And so that was a fun week. But nope, not sick. None of the kids are sick. Wife's not sick. I'm not sick. We're good.
All right.
So
There you
We're
go.
good. So we're 1 out of 3 right now.
1
Yeah.
out of
For
3.
sickness. Not
and
not
Nate's-
so great.
Nate's down with plumbing issues, so his house
Yeah.
is sick.
Nate's house is sick. We got some pictures we have a little text thread that goes where we talk about episodes and record times and all that stuff. And we got a picture earlier that said, hey, it's really important to know which valve to shut off in your house to turn off the water when you want to replace some of your plumbing.
Yep.
And it was a photo of what looked, I can only assume, is water shooting out of a wall
Yeah.
from what looked like a
I think
shower.
It's a
plumbing.
video.
Yeah, I think it
clicked
was
on
where
it.
the
It's a
tub.
video.
I think it was where the tub like screws in or something. But yeah, it was just like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah, for those
We're-
on watching the video, you can just see everything gushing out. No,
We are proud graduates of YouTube University when it comes to
That's
plumbing,
right.
I think.
Oh,
no.
All right,
But
so
anyway.
let's get into the episode. So as we mentioned at the top, Saunders just welcomed a new little one to his world.
yep.
So sounds like baby's doing good, mom's doing good, but we've got
Baby's
some
doing
birth
good.
story out there.
Yeah, baby's doing good. Mom's doing good. My first son, my first and only son. So there'll be a vasectomy episode coming up here in the next less than 6 months, I believe. We'll see what the urologist says. But if I roll back the clock on Monday last week, so what would that have been? The 28th? Thursday, the 27th? We ended up in the hospital because my wife was having preterm contractions again. It was the second time that had happened. We kind of just hung out overnight. No labor, no water break, nothing. Just painful contractions. They wanted to keep an eye on her. They did. They let her go home. She shows up Tuesday for no, that was Monday to Monday night. Tuesday we went home. Wednesday she had her standard OB appointment, which we just had because you have your weekly OB appointments when it gets to be later. And then Thursday we went in for an ECV, and I call them an inversion, but that's not what they are. They're an external cephalic version. And the gist of this is they flip a breech baby inside the womb, which if you've never seen one, look it up on YouTube. They're really cool if they go right. And And that's kind of where the beginning of this story goes, because they spent the first part of the week telling my wife she needed an epidural. And then when she said, I'm not getting an epidural, I've done this before because we did it with our second child. And then they were like, okay, well, how about pain meds? And she's like, I don't need pain meds either. And to put this in perspective for you, when we were at the University of Utah, they made a 2:00 in the afternoon, 30-minute appointment to do this at the University of Utah. They showed up with an attending, a med student, a resident, and 2 nurses in a room that didn't hold 7 people. Like, I was the only one in a chair, and I was sitting in the corner in the chair, like peeking around the corner of a nurse. They did it, and the nurse goes, I've never seen it go that fast, right? No anesthesia, no nothing. They just lubed her up with ultrasound jelly, and they rotated my daughter. She was born 24 hours later. So here we are in rural Iowa, and they're going, you have to have an epidural. You're going to need pain meds. Like, this is a process. We have to blah, blah, blah. And we're going, no, we've done this before. This isn't an issue. Like, let's stop talking about it and just do it. Like, we can do this in a regular clinic checkup room. And they're like, no, you have to go down to the OB wing and sit in the labor and delivery room. And so they're like, from our perspective, they're just blowing it out of proportion, right? 3 anesthesiologists, 2 an MD, OBGYN, a DO family practice obstetrician, 5 nurses, and myself, all in my wife's labor and delivery room, along with my wife. So I think we counted like 10 total people. And they go over it all again, and she's like, nope, I don't want an epidural. I don't need any pain meds. And her name is Dr. Wong. She was just a 5'2", 40-year-old Asian woman who was the only one in the hospital certified to do this procedure. She lowers the bed as far as she can, and then she's like, I need a stool, because she couldn't get up high enough to actually do the procedure. And it was like, okay. So they finally get her up on this stool, and our OB's there, who's actually the one who's going to deliver the baby, which was really nice for Iowa. Our OB obstetrician family doctor is there for the whole thing. Like, he was like, no, when you're ready to deliver and you go into labor, they're going to call me, and I'm going to come in, and I'm going to sit here with you. And so that was really nice, because that was not our experience in Utah. It wasn't my sister's experience in Texas.
No, at a larger hospital, you get whoever's on call.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
you might get your OB, they try to get it.
They'll call them in, and then if they're available, they'll come in. If they're not,
Right.
I think ours, for our last son, when did he come in? The first one we got, whoever was on staff. Second son, they called him, and he was like, I'll be there soon. And he rolls in like shorts and flip flops from like a backyard barbecue. So,
yeah. So that was kind of nice that, like, he was there for the journey, right? So we start the version, and they do it same thing as Utah. 30 seconds in and out, push, bam, done. And this Dr. Wan, the thing out of her mouth was, wow, that was easy. And I just turned to her and I said, no, if that's easy, you're doing this wrong. That's the expectation. That's how this is supposed to go. That is how this procedure works. And she just looks at me like I'm the devil, right? And I think everybody else in the room was like really, really quiet, because a patient just corrected the person who was certified to do this and be like,
Saunders isn't welcome back to this hospital anymore.
Nah, it'll be fine.
You're not welcome back here, sir.
But she didn't come back in the room. She left, and that was it. She didn't come back in. Like, and that's important later, because she's the head of the obstetrics in this hospital. Anyway, so then we have to sit around for a couple hours, because just for safety purposes, right? They just flipped the baby. We don't want the water to break. They're monitoring my wife's blood pressure, and they decide she has prenatal hypertension. 150 over 90. So she's like borderline on the, you have hypertension, you don't. After a few hours, the decision's made that we're going to induce labor. just because for safety of her, for safety of the child, right? We're at 37 weeks in like a day, so there's no risk in preterm birth really. So we start that rabbit hole. That was like 11 noon on Thursday. Okay. And this is why I'm going, we need to get this kid out because I got an 8 p.m. podcast time. Like, we got hours. I can achieve this. Right. And I had that goal. So we start all the procedures. Again, our doctor's there the whole time.
I'm going to be honest. I'm surprised you didn't show up with a black eye.
By who? My wife? The doctor? Like she was all for it.
Any of the above.
Yes,
she was all for it.
We got a running list.
Yeah,
running list.
Right.
So hey, the way I look at this is I'm the only one in there advocating for my kid and my wife. Everybody else has got some agenda that they want to accomplish, and they all say different things, but you got to protect yours. If you don't, nobody else will, right? So that's my job as the dad in the obstetrics room. By 8 or 9 o'clock at night, we have basically been there just over 12 hours, and there is little to no movement. We've tried to break the water once. It didn't succeed. We've done a couple of they have this pill that they kind of rub on the outside of the cervix to help with dilation. So somewhere after 9 or 10, we've stopped at 6 centimeters. We are not dilating. And I believe at that point we have manually broken my wife's water. And that's all fine. At some
They bring
point,
the hook out?
Yeah, we did that twice. It was really, that was actually the freakiest part, was because he thought he got it and then it turns out he didn't. And that was just, it was like, I don't know if I like this whole
Listen, I didn't get squeamish for like any of the parts of the birth that I was around for, even the epidural, like nothing.
Right.
But my wife woke me up from a nap because it was the same thing. They were inducing her. She woke me up from a nap, said, "Hey, they're about to break my water." And I just wake up to like Captain Hook over there and then water breaking. And I'm like, I'm about to hurl. Like, I'm like, this is
The only thing that got you.
I pulled it together, but that was the only thing that I was like, I don't feel good right now.
Yeah, that I had one of those moments in this story. And so they did that at somewhere in the process. I think it was after they broke her water. It was after she got Pitocin, but before they broke her water, they did the epidural. And God bless my wife, because she let the student anesthesiologist give her the epidural. And it took 4 doses, 5 different, they called them bee stings, but of the local anesthetic, because he couldn't get that right. And then he must have stabbed her 4 or 5 times trying to get the epidural in the right spot. Like
after time 1, I'd just be like, we're done.
Yeah, you get one shot.
Yeah.
She
Have you seen
was
that
a trooper.
Have you seen that epidural needle? No.
I have.
One and
I
done.
sat
That's
there.
it.
Yeah, that was the thing that got me, was seeing the epidural needle. I was like,
The thing's
nope,
insane.
I can't.
Yep.
I was like, I've spent hours and hours and hours under tattoo needles, and as soon as I saw an epidural needle, I was like, nope,
I'm out.
Can't even look at this. Can't watch it.
Yep.
Can't do any of it.
So that was frustrating for her and me, but it was really like one of those. Again, we both have the mindset of these doctors have to learn, and so if there isn't anything else, any reason they can't, right? Why not? Like, in that sense, we are very good patients. Like,
You guys are great souls.
we will be guinea pigs, but at some point you got to stop poking me just to practice.
I mean, listen, I think we've already established Saunders' wife is like one of the most patient and kind human beings in the world by the fact that she was okay with him potentially doing a podcast in the middle of a hospital during like labor. So
fair. That's a good look. We had a discussion. I got permission. I didn't actually do it. Okay. There was, so all of this goes through. At some point in the middle of the night, and the anesthesiologist poked her spine and crashed her BP and the baby's BP. So she had to get a shot of epinephrine to like stabilize everything. Yeah, in the middle of that epidural thing, they're like, we need to take a break. Everybody's heart rate and blood pressure just crashed. So that was fun as a dad. Yeah, no, like there's a reason I said I could do a whole episode on this story, because it was semi-traumatic for me. Okay, I had a moment. We get through that. At some point, they stop the Pitocin just so that she and the baby can have a break. And that was somewhere around midnight, 1 a.m. And by 6 o'clock, we're back having the conversation about, okay, we want to start the Pitocin. We can't really go much longer without this child being born, right? We broke the water a while ago. Like, you're in active labor, but you're not progressing. So we need to restart Pitocin to move things along. However, we're not comfortable doing it in a labor and delivery room, and we need to have the conversation about a C-section. And my wife is pretty adamant, like, we're not doing a C-section. Like, she does not want one. It is the last resort kind of response. So we do what this hospital referred to as a double setup. We had the entire surgical staff on hand. We rolled my wife down to the OR, and we delivered in the operating room. So we had the whole lights, camera, action operating room, plus all the labor and delivery staff. There were 2 nurses for the baby. I'm sorry, there was a DO for the baby, 2 nurses for the baby, 3 nurses for my wife, and her DO, who's our primary care physician. And they lit her up on Pitocin, and she dilated 1 centimeter about every 30 minutes. We spent about 90 minutes in the OR just waiting. And she managed to do a vaginal delivery of this child in an operating room surrounded by, at my highest count was 9 people. At one point, 1 person would leave and 2 people would enter. Like, and I was like, no, we can't keep doing this. Where like you go out and 2 more people come back. But what was really weird was outside the doors was the entire surgical staff. Like, the OB staff was there doing delivery, but they were ready to, like, nope, we're crashing, let's go. So we did the whole thing, right? And son is born 7:42 a.m. on Friday in the OR. Vaginal delivery, no complications. He comes out crying. He's perfectly healthy and pink. His APGAR scores are 9 and 9, right? Like, with the exception of this really long labor and the really bad epidural, everything else went beautifully, swimmingly, and as best you can, right? So he's born, he's fine. The nurse is doing her check. Everybody's starting to clear out, and I just take like 3 steps back, and I sit down on a chair that I don't even know why it was there. I don't think it was for me. And I lost it. I didn't even realize like how tense or how emotional or how much shit I was carrying at that moment. But I started bawling my eyes out in this OR, and it probably lasted about 5 minutes. And I swear to God, not a single person in that OR noticed. Not the nurse who was right next to me,
wild.
Not my DO who was delivering the kid. My wife wasn't aware, right? She was obviously occupied, but there must have been 7-8 people within 15 feet of me. And I am sitting there breathing and crying. And right, I mean, I just had a pent up emotions, right? Fear, anxiety. Yeah. Like, there was a point where my brain was going, what happens if this goes horribly wrong? And I'm left as a single dad of 3 kids with an infant, because
right.
Yeah.
God knows what happened, right? And so I was just, it was all coming out in like that 5 minutes. And so it did. And then we got up and we rolled all the way back to labor and delivery. And we didn't see our DO for another 12 hours because he left to go do a full day's clinic shift in the family practice clinic. And then he went home and took an 11-hour nap. And I think he showed up on Saturday at like just before noon. They were like, you went home and slept, didn't you?
Oh. I got again, this is Dad Verb.
You got a screaming kid.
I got a screaming, throwing up kid from being sick. Have a good night, gentlemen.
All right.
Bye, Muamer. Yeah, so that was my experience. And he told us at 11:40 that next day that he's like, I was pretty sure we were doing a C-section.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was absolutely amazing that you powered through and delivered that kid the way you did. And it was just, it was a lot. Even thinking about it now, like I start the story in a very joking manner, but it was a long, long day. And then, this part just irks me to no end. We've been there. I've been awake at that point for maybe 45 minutes of sleep a couple times during this whole thing, but I'd been awake for at least 2.5 days at that point, just making sure I was conscious and available.
Yeah.
And when a nurse came to take my son, it was like 9 p.m. She's like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, you can have him from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. Let us know if he needs fed or you need something from us, but we're getting some sleep. And my wife goes, that sounds like a plan. And the nurse looked at me like I was the devil because I had just pawned off a less than 24-hour-old kid on her. Yeah. And I was like, no, like this is my third kid. He's going to be fine. It's your job to take care of him. We need a break.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You need some sleep at that point. Some reset time.
Yep. Exactly. So anyway,
and that's one of the things. No, it's a lot. And I think, I think a lot of us have similar or, you talk about the emotional part of it. And a lot of us you end up having similar reactions, right? Like, so, I shared way back on the podcast, we had our first son in 2020 that he was born via emergency C-section. Because same thing, like my wife's blood pressure started crashing. His heart rate was crashing. Yep. Same deal. I was sitting there watching The Office and everything was fine. And all of a sudden it was like 1 person, 2 people, 5 people, 7 people, and they're checking her, doing all this stuff. And you talk about that sort of, I actually almost got left. They wheeled her in so quickly. I almost got left in the waiting area. So they were about to open her up to do the C-section and they realized I wasn't in the room and somebody finally ran out to come get me. But I remember that very vividly to this day, like that, the emotional crash at the end of it, of going through something that you don't, at the time, it feels very matter of fact, right? Like everybody's doing their job. They're kind of, they have a place to be, they have a thing to do. And sort of you kind of get caught up in the rhythm and the cadence of the delivery of just watching everybody do their thing. And your focus is obviously on mom, right? Like making sure she's okay and doing whatever you can to keep her, to help stay steady and kind of keep things the way they are. But I do remember that, once my son came out, I remember as soon as I heard that first cry is when I just like broke down. That was because it's that moment you're like, okay, everything's, at least for the most part, I know it's pretty much done. It's okay. He's out safe from a relatively scary situation. And I know, one of the pieces that Muamer did recently on the Dad Verb channel and on his Instagram was talking about the assessments for dads, right? Like postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. And the thing that I think strikes me about what you said, and it was a similar experience for me, was you're having this huge emotional sort of release and nobody sees it. Right. Like nobody notices it.
Yeah. It's not that they don't see it. Right. Like I think I could be wrong, but I think a couple of the nurses noticed because we kind of made eye contact, but their priorities were either elsewhere or they just went with man up, bro. And you're
not dying at that point. Like it's the focus is on baby, mom, getting everything squared away. Yeah.
Yep. And so it was like, oh, this is interesting. So, I mean, I think like if we can do anything to affect the community, right? Having a singular person who's there to support fathers in those situations. Like, look, there were so many people in that OR and they all had a job. There's absolutely no reason that we couldn't just add one more whose job it is to make sure dad's okay. Right.
Yeah.
I don't see why that. And sure, some people are going to be like, man up and just, but you know what? I get it. I get why 13% of the adult male population who have kids have postpartum depression, right? I understand it now, because the only other time I have felt that kind of crash, like that kind of straight emotional weird release, is when I was in the military, right? When I was in situations that were tense, life-threatening, potentially dangerous to myself or others. And then when they were over, everybody kind of took this giant collective sigh of relief. But in those situations, everybody was in the same event, right? No one was responsible for taking care of anybody else. We were all like on the high together and on the crash together. Right. And then when we got wherever we could that people could support us, their whole job was to support everyone. It wasn't to support one person and not somebody else. So it was very interesting for me to see it. It was the same emotional experience, but there was no one there to support me. And and it really was. It was a man up, pull up your bootstraps, let's go. Right. And I think some people, even in my family, will be surprised to hear about it when they listen to this episode. They'll be like, oh, I didn't know.
Well, and that's one thing that we don't talk a lot about, is because, you know, obviously we're not the focus, and we don't intend to be the focus. We don't intend to be the center of attention. But like birth trauma in dads is a very real thing. And I didn't realize how big of a deal it was until we went to have our second kid. And it was a scheduled C-section. It was very like matter of fact. I've talked about this before, right? It was kind of like checking into a hotel. Like you just show up and you're like, oh, we're here to have a baby. Like you're not in active labor. There's no rush. You're just sitting in a room.
With that order,
right. It's literally you're just sitting in a room until they're like, okay, it's time to go have your C-section, and you go. But I remember there's this moment where I ended up in, I don't know if it was the same OR. I think it was probably the same OR that my son had been born in. And I remember sitting down in the same waiting area, and I sat there, and it was the same situation. Like it wasn't an emergency, but I was sitting there in basically the same situation, same outfit. And I remember like I couldn't stop moving. Like my feet were tapping, my legs were moving. I had to fidget. I had to move. And I checked, I had my Apple Watch on. It was like warning me that like my heart rate was too high, or my breathing rate was too high. Yep. And I realized like in that moment, how much of that trauma you carry from one experience to another.
The anxiety, the adrenaline, it's all just going.
My wife noticed like a couple days out from, you know, having our second kid for our scheduled C-section. It was like I was anxious and moody and kind of snapping at everybody, and I just didn't really want to talk to anyone. And she was like, I don't think you've really like taken in or accounted for like the amount of emotional stress that you were under for the first one, and it's all coming back in the second one. So
or even worse, because it's
something we don't talk about.
It's the fear that you already know what you're going to go through, right? And that's even worse. Because like as a new dad, right? I was excited, but I had no idea what I was in for. I was excited, and I'd read lots of books, and I'd participated in, right? Like I had an intellectual understanding, but not an emotional understanding. And then
there's no attachment to it at that point.
Right. And that one went normal. Like that was straight up. Everything went basically by the book. And and that like I remember like cutting the umbilical cord, right? It took me a couple tries to understand how like tough, like how actually tough the umbilical cord is. Like everybody talks about the umbilical cord rips, or like this thing's a piece of rope, okay? Like it really has
it's genuinely hard to cut through.
And so with number 2, right? And I didn't want to look at the head coming through, right? I didn't want to see the hair. Like,
Yeah.
I was very much afraid with number 1, or with my eldest, of kind of the blood, guts, gore portion of childbirth. Right. And then with number 2, they're like, you want to see the hair in her head? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Let's get in there. Let's, right? Because I had an understanding of what was there, right? And I could get through the emotions faster. And that umbilical cord was one and done, right? And okay, I know what I'm getting into. I knew the strength I had to put on these scissors, right? I got to get in there deep and make sure I get the cutting portion. And then here I am again in a new hospital, new team. You're right. I kind of trusted everybody, but I kind of didn't trust everybody in a lot of ways, right? Because we went from major, tier 5 ER hospital to not even registered ER emergency team, right? Just bare bones.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in an OR, right? And I've been in an OR twice in my life. The first one was to have tubes put in my ears, and the second time was to have my gallbladder out, right? And I was unconscious for both of those instances. So I'd never actually looked around an OR to see what was there and how freaky it was. And the fact that the 1-800 poison control numbers on a giant thing on the wall, and they're like, no, it's practical. We need to know that number. And I'm like, you can't remember 800-222-2111, or like, it's this ridiculously simple number. And they're like, no, we want it on the wall. And I'm like, okay. And then he hands me the scissors to cut the umbilical cord after he's out, and I dropped them. My hands were so shaky and so, I was so, like, on the outside, I think I had it together, but when I went to go do a dexterous thing, I dropped them. And he's like, no big deal.
Fine motor skills.
I didn't. I had to actively think about grabbing those scissors, making sure they were in my hand. And right, once I understood that, I one and done the umbilical cord this time. And he actually he's like, not many guys get that on a single cut. And I'm like, yeah, it's my first rodeo, right? Like, I had some of my snark still in there, but but it was a
mechanism.
It really was. But it was amazing how much of just my ability to process had shut down, so that I could make sure I was in active, I don't want to call it fight or flight, but emergency response mode, right?
Yeah. Well, your mindset goes to solving a problem, right? It's the response to a traumatic situation, or a situation where you have an adrenaline dump, where you have to consciously think through all the steps and go, okay, what do I do next? And what do I do next? And, again, my wife's an ICU nurse. So the stuff she talks about, she's like, oh yeah, we do that all the time. It's like, you just have to focus. It's like everybody in that room, they focus on their job,
right? Because
they don't want to see or do the wrong thing or whatever, be in the wrong place, because they're even in seasoned, OB situations, right? There's still a lot of adrenaline. There's still people moving. There's still, a lot obviously tied to that experience and everything that they're doing. It has to be well coordinated.
Right.
But yeah, it's that same deal. It's like, you really have to think about every next step to be able to do it. So I am sincerely glad everybody's okay. I'm glad it went well, well-ish, it's that everybody's healthy. Mom is good.
Ironically for us, everybody's healthy. Everybody's fine. There were no real complications, no real issues. I think all of our negatives, if there are any, came from the hospital being small. They came from our lack of understanding about what resources and how prepared they had to be, because they didn't have backups. Right.
Yeah. There's not like 5 teams standing by that can just jump in. There's like a team for each thing. And
and that's why the original thing that got us in there on Thursday, the external cephalic version, right? It required the entire OB surgical team, because if they had to do a crash C-section, they needed every member of the team available in there.
The whole team.
So it had to be scheduled, and it had to be at a time when they could afford to do a crash C-section and still complete their other business for the day, right? Because it's not like they could just shut down the OB wing for and so like once we understood that, the scheduling made a lot more sense, but the procedure was still frustrating for us because again, we'd gone through it before, and
you've been through it at a bigger hospital with more resources and you know, potentially better equipped or even potentially more highly skilled teams who do it more often.
Well, and to my wife's credit, right, we were trying to figure out why they said that most women need an epidural, and the reality is they need the pain block, because the immediate response to someone pressing on your stomach very hard or your abdomen is for you to tense all your muscles, right? And
you have to stay relaxed.
You have to stay extremely relaxed, and most people don't have abdominal muscle control. And she goes, "Oh, well, that's easy." And I went, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I was a dancer for 14 years. I have control of my abdominal muscles in a very real sense, right? Like you say relax and I can just relax them." And I'm like, "Oh,
most people can't do that. It's an involuntary response for sure."
And so that explains why for her, they both went very quickly. So I don't want to give people like this false impression. This should be an easy medical procedure, but for my wife, it was. And again, the team in Utah was very much like, no, this is a common thing. We do it all the time. And so I think there's just the team here did 2 or 3 a month, right? Utah probably did 2 or 3 a week. And so it's just a different. So,
it was exactly the same experience like with our emergency C-section, right? Like it was very matter of fact. Like everybody, I will say the second one, the scheduled C-section, was really strange because I was hearing the doctor who was literally having a conversation about his like Disney cruise that he was about to go on while he's doing the C-section on my wife. And it just speaks to the idea that like they do so many of these. It's such a common thing that it actually, I brought it up with him afterwards. I was like, "Oh, you know, you guys getting ready to go on a cruise, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "Oh, you heard that?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, honestly, strangely, it actually gave me some comfort because it showed to me that you've done this so many times in so many different situations that you can have a completely different conversation other than what you're doing and still have a perfectly fine outcome and be confident that you know that your hands are doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
Right.
So I think that's it's strangely comforting.
I think the corollary that most people could understand is next time you're typing on a keyboard and you're actually like writing a paragraph or an email, like you're not just yeah, dude, that's cool, send, right? Like you're actually working through a whole paragraph. See if you can look up and pay attention to what's going on in the room while completing the sentence while typing. And if you can do that, you'll understand that comfort corollary, because you're so good at knowing what you're doing with your hands and finishing that your eyes can be doing something other than looking at the keys. And that's or the screen, right? Like and that's a weird skill to gain, but once you do, you can watch people freak out in meetings because you can look at them in the eye, have the conversation, be typing, and they're like, no, stop. Like, you're not, how are you? Like, But it gives me that same sense. Is like, there were a couple times when our doctor did that. That being said, I have to give him credit. This is my favorite thing about our OB. His name is Dr. Pepper. And here's the best part. He leans into it. So like he wears a Dr. Pepper badge with liquid Dr. Pepper in it all day, every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he's all over it. But, and I said this at kind of the top of the episode, in the middle of the night. So he had to show up at 6 a.m. on Thursday. And then sometime around 5:30, 6, when it was time for him to kind of go home, he couldn't leave because she was there and she was in labor. And so he showed up and he's like, "I'm just going to hang out with you guys." And around midnight, 2 or 3 in the morning, we had all gotten comfortable enough that he was chilling in the hospital room, just chatting with us. Right. We talked about his med school experiences. We talked about our experiences in Utah, why we moved to Utah, you know, which is really, that's a weird conversation to have with your doctor. Like you're in a delivery room, your wife is actively in labor, and she's talking about her first divorce and what that nonsense was like while she's getting ready to have her third kid with her second husband, and they're reminiscing about their divorces, and I'm just sitting there as an observer like, well, this is a weird conversation to be having at this moment in my life, but hey, if everybody's relaxed, what do I care at 4
Everybody's comfortable, I guess that's all that matters, right?
So that is
awesome, man.
An upside to what I would call the rural American medical experience is we now have a better relationship with our family practitioner as a person that we and he's not just our doctor, right? Now he is kind of an acquaintance or a friend, if that makes any sense. He's not just the guy who writes me my high blood pressure medicine. Right. So pluses and minuses, I guess.
Yeah.
But
well, awesome. I'm super glad that everybody's healthy. You know, I'm sure the audience is happy for you guys that you've welcomed a new life into your world. So now you're a father of 3, 2 girls and a boy. It'll be not a totally new experience, but a very different experience, since we all know that every kid is different.
I'm on zone defense.
Always
now.
A challenge.
I'm no longer a man in coverage.
You are outnumbered. You are outnumbered.
So
awesome. I think that's a good play.
Our seats don't fit anymore. Like I basically have to buy an 8-passenger vehicle, because getting 3 car seats in the back of any standard vehicle is nigh impossible, friends.
You need a full-size pickup.
Right?
There's a couple that'll do 3 across. All I'm saying, I am convinced that pickups are one of the best family vehicles ever invented. Like, you can change a kid on the tailgate. It's perfect.
You're probably not wrong. The question is, the one I'm going to want is probably outside my budget for a mortgage, let alone my budget for a new car.
Yeah, well, you know we all got to have dreams, right?
There are going to be some photos up of myself and baby boy on my Dad Verb Instagram. So if anybody is curious, it's saunders.dadverb. I'm going to have a couple photos of us just kind of right after birth, and then I might post a family photo. I might not. I'm not a big fan of putting my kids on social media, but I got some really good shots of him and me in the hospital, and I think the world just deserves to know. So he might go up there pretty anonymous, but we'll see.
Well, we'll look forward to it, man. And congratulations again. We're happy for you. And we're glad that everything is as sideways as it may have gone. I think everything went really well.
We forgot the name. Do you remember Do you remember my name thing?
I don't. I remember the text message.
Okay. So all of my kids have acronyms. So the first one is TPK, Total Party Kill. The second one is SOS for Save Our Souls. This child's name is Richard Patton. Sorry, my wife hates it when I do that. Richard Patton Gibbs, which are all family names for us. And that's RPG for role-playing game. So all 3 of my kids have somewhat D&D related acronyms as their names. And they're all 3-banger names because I'm that guy on the birth certificate.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Richard Patton Gibbs was born at 7:42, basically 6 days, 12 hours ago.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, that I think is a great place for us to wrap up today's episode. Great. Thank you for telling us your story. I think it's really important that we share this stuff with everybody because everybody's experiences are different. And as always, if you guys are out there and you want more kind of fatherhood chats, want to talk about your birth stories or share anything with other dads, you can always join us on the Dad Verb Discord. And also, as always, we want this podcast to reach as many dads as we possibly can. So wherever you're listening, Spotify, Apple, wherever it is, whatever your listening platform of choice is, make sure to go ahead and give us a rating. We'd appreciate 5 stars. Leave us a comment. Let us know any topics that you would want to hear on an upcoming episode of the Dad Verb Podcast. And as always, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.